What's cracking, people? Where we at? Anybody? Ain't nobody home yet? All right, let me know when y'all get there. Okay, what's cracking, folks? Man, it's been a minute. It's been a good week. Your boy been busy. Work, work, work. You know how it is. Hey, life is. You know what I'm saying? What you make it. So you know what I'm saying. I'm trying to go get it. I figure. I'm saying ain't nobody gonna give me nothing. Ain't no handouts in life. Ain't no. You know what I'm saying. Waiting for something to drop into your lap. You got to go get it. You got to do your part in all things. You got to do the best you can at everything you do. And that's me. I'm you know what I'm saying, anything I'm trying to do, I'm trying to do my best at it. And that has come from half-assing my way through life. I had a lot more potential than I lived up to, truthfully, because I ended up, stuck in the cage for most of my life. And I am a firm believer that that's part of that is choice. I chose to take the steps that led me to that situation. I can't put that on nobody. That's me. I did that. But now, you know what I'm saying, I've been out, you know what I'm saying, and I done figured a way to get myself in a position where this is the best life I've ever lived. I've been out longer than I've been out since I was 9 years old, and that's 9 years. I'm looking forward to 10. I'm gonna have me a little party, but ain't nothing wrong with celebrating, and that's something to celebrate. I've been working hard. I've been working hard at not doing whatever I wanted to do. That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? I can't be out running the streets all the time. You know what I mean? I gotta be the responsible one if I want something. Because like I said, you know what I'm saying, I ain't never counted on nobody to give me nothing. I'm gonna go get what I want, one way or another. It used to be the wrong way, and that was the easy way, and a lot of times in life I took the easy way out because I didn't want to do the work. And that's what I talk about, half-assing your way through life, and you miss out on a lot of stuff because I chose to, instead of getting, I got a job, but then, the street money was fast and it was quick, but it don't last. Anybody that knows, you know what I'm saying, it don't last. I'd have had a little money. I'd have been doing good. I'd have been doing, I thought I was doing real good, but uh after, you know what I'm saying, you get caught up and then you stuck in that cage, and then they want you to do, you know what I'm saying, some double digit decade numbers. That little bit of change wasn't worth that. Because if you think about it, if you I try calculated this one time when I was sitting in the cage, because look, I had 20 years in the cage. So I spent a lot of time, just thinking about things. And I thought about how much money somebody would make going to work at a regular minimum wage job for 20 years. Because I spent over 20 years in the California prison system. So, how much would somebody make a minimum wage for 20 years? How much would that add up to? And then when I seen that number, I was like, damn, it's a slow hustle, but it's a for show hustle. And that's the thing. I was with the quick money, and the quick money was, you know what I'm saying, here today and gone tomorrow. And that's the way life is. Anybody, if you had a little change, it goes fast. And before you know it, it's gone, and now you looking to get some more. Well, that was me. I was hunting. I was trying to find somebody, anybody. It didn't matter. And like I'm robbing the drug dealer. I want somebody with some money because, if I rob somebody, that got $2.50, I'm taking a penitentiary chance for $2.50. Nah, so I'm gonna be sure. I'm gonna be sure, you know what I'm saying, I done, you know what I'm saying, did my research and watched the spot and because that was my get low, that was my thing, and it it was how I survived back in the day. So, a lot of people can't relate, I understand, because it's a different life. But when you on the streets and you ain't got nobody and you think this is the right thing to do. I was raised with Robin Hood. I'm from yeah, but you know what I'm saying, all that aside, I'm with the Robin Hood. I'm steal from the rich and I'm put in my pocket, because we didn't have much. We didn't have much growing up. We was grimy. It was ugly back in the days, but we made the best of it. We had fun. We did some silly stuff. We did some dangerous stuff, but we did some stupid stuff too. But it always ended up the same thing. And those were the days that you gotta be able to remember. That's the thing, because I got some friends that they don't. It's what I mean. I don't know. I'd be like, man, where did the time go? It was just last week. We was 15. You know what I mean, running around on bikes. Taking people's shoes, and you know what I mean. That was, man. So much has changed. The world, as new world order is coming. It's crazy, all the stuff that's going on, because I don't have no control over the government. I have no control. Yeah, I get a vote now. I don't think that vote means anything. You know what I'm saying? The system is rigged. The system is set up. Look at it. They'll tell you, oh, no, it's not. The same way they told, you know what I'm saying, the Indians here, you know what I'm saying, take these blankets. Take these blankets on this trail of tears. But nah, you know what I'm saying, it's that's my own uh that's my own issue. I don't trust the government. Why? Look at what I've been through. Man, look, my first offense, I shot somebody that broke my mom's jaw. I was 9 years old. That started my life of crime. Did you know that? I got a homeboy, J.O. Felony, famous rapper. You know what I'm saying? The homeboy. That fool, he did a song called Easy to Get In, but it's hard as hell to get out. And he talking about the system. The system. Especially, because now I was with him for most of it. I missed YA and went straight to the pen. But you know what I'm saying, we was in, Campo, juvenile hall. He in the song he said juvenile hall, Campo, YA, county jail, then the motherfucking pen. Okay, I hit every one of those except for YA. I missed YA. I ended up going to Campo twice. But that's the thing, this was a life of majority of the people I grew up with. The males in my community were in the halls with me, and I'm talking about even the ones that weren't tough guys and and they weren't, they weren't about it like that. They were still out there trying to make a dollar. They were still out there hustling. They were still in them walls. They were still, caught up in the system, because the hood is a trap. It was set up and designed for us to fail. This is the plan. We have to do more. We have to step up. We have to do better. And I only say we because I'm speaking for myself. And look, we gotta push. Ain't no, ain't no waiting around for no, handouts. We, we pushing. We coming to get ours. So be ready. But nah, I don't know, I used to be deep into the conspiracy theories when I was incarcerated, because I had a lot of time on my hands. So I was reading anything that had words on, a piece of paper. Give me a card. I'm gonna read that. But no, for real, I was studying a lot of different stuff. I had a lot of time on my hands. So it it was a personal growth period for me. For me, people leave home and they go away and they go to school or college or whatever, and they spend, years, in college, and then graduate school and all this other, Yeah, I had extensive schooling in the school of hard knocks, and that's where I learned, I learned how to survive. I learned how to live. I learned how to live my best life, because everything that I went through has got me to where I am, and where I am is better than anywhere I've ever been before. Again, I don't have everything I need. I don't have everything I don't have everything I want, but I have everything I need. All my needs are met. I'm blessed. I got, I got the best life there is. I got a grandbaby in the house, that I can go up in there and make smile. And then when it starts leaking, I can hand it off. I love my grandbaby. But she's her my job is just to make her smile. That's my job right now, you know. But later on, we're gonna be, we're gonna be training, taking, wait until I get her fishing. Oh yeah, it's on. But that's gonna be easy. Because her mama and papa both know how to fish now. I know that for sure. Yeah, life is good. I'm so blessed. I'm so blessed. It's been a struggle to get here, but I'm here. And man, look, this is what I'm doing. I'm gonna lean back and enjoy the ride, folks. Life keeps getting better. I don't, even when there's some, some strife, some struggles, some ups and downs, this is still 10 times better than the way I was living when I was living from month to month, from canteen to canteen, from hustle to hoping to come up with something. Just something so I can make some. And look, I'll make something out of nothing. Believe that. You know, I was in there, I sold coffee, I fixed headphones and put names on Walkmans and TVs and appliances. And I charged people for that. That was a hustle. But I learned little by little as I, went along, but I had good homies. I had good big homies. And when I was in the cell with my homies, they laced me up. They kept my shit tight. And they made sure, I learned these lessons so that I could take them, and get to where I am now. Because a lot of people ain't never gonna be able to go through that. And what I've been through, it's not like something you can go to school for. But put me in a situation and see how I react. I'm a survivor, and life has taught me a lot of lessons, a lot of hard lessons, but that doesn't, mean that I'm supposed to just sit around and stop right there. Nah, I'm pushing forward. Maybe there's some more lessons. Maybe there's something else I need to learn to get to the next level. And you just got to keep pushing forward. That's like my motto. I think I'm the little engine that could. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And before you know it, he gets up and gets over the hill. Then he gets the good time. And I thought I could, I thought I could, I thought I could. Coming down the hill, he's coasting. And it's all good. This is the good time. But then there's going to be another hill behind that one, and another hill behind that one, and another hill behind that one. But each one I get over gives me the strength to get over the next one. Believe that. Hey. And we know what happens. Get an engine off the track. What happens? Spinning your wheels. You ain't going nowhere. So stay on track. Stay focused. Push and keep going. That's it. And before you know it, it'll get better. And then after that, it'll get better. And then after that, it'll get better. And it keeps getting better. But you got to keep doing the work. You got to keep getting up. You got to keep going to that job. You got to get up and keep doing whatever you're doing to make sure you and your folks got what you need. Ain't nobody going to give you nothing. You know what I mean? And this is a lesson I had to learn because, my dad was the king of getting that free dollar. And I grew up, we was on welfare. It was a trip because I didn't even understand when I got, when I became an adult and started, doing grown shit. I had to go get my information, which was a birth certificate, social security card. I went to go get a social security card and found out that my father had a brother. I had a brother supposedly that I didn't have. My father was collecting welfare for when we was a kid. So he was getting a little extra money. And I didn't know nothing. I was a little kid. All I know, is we might be late on rent, but we gonna have the basic necessities. We gonna have we ain't never gonna go hungry. That's one thing, Pops had all. And we had all that commodity stuff. I'm talking about we used to stand in those lines and get the free butter, the cheese. Yeah, whatever they was giving away, Pops was in line with me or my sister. And then I was in line with my mama. And we getting 2 issues. And that was the get down every time we went, to a place like that. That's the way it was. That way we get a little bit extra because, Pops was a hustler and, he was going to make sure we had what we needed. And he did his job. He did the best he could with what he was working with. I didn't like it at the time. I didn't understand at the time, but Pops was there. He wasn't all good because he had issues and, he didn't know how to deal with them, to the point where, he was rough on people. Sounds familiar, huh? I try, I try to push people as hard as I can because if you can't deal with it, then you're going to crack. And then if you're going to crack, then you're going to go over there. You're going to get bandaged up. You're going to get, let you get some heal up and rest and recuperate. And then we're going to get up. We're going to start pushing you some more. Because that's what life's going to do to you. So my job and my family is to prepare people. That's what that's my purpose. That's my purpose in life. Because if you ain't pushing the line, then I'm going to say something. I don't hold my tongue. I don't sugarcoat shit. And, I'm not going to, blow smoke up your butt. I will call you on your shit. And you know what I'm saying, please call me on mine. I'm not perfect, you know what I mean? I make mistakes. If I did something wrong, you know what I'm saying, holler at your boy. I'm man enough to admit now it took me a long time to get to this point because for most of my life I had an excuse for everything. I had an excuse for everything, and that was how I went through life. And finally I got to the point where there's no one else here. It's just me. There ain't no excuse I can make up to say I didn't do this. You know what I mean? Look at me. I glow. You can't miss me. So that's when I realized, it's time to stop making excuses. And I accept responsibility for all that I've done. And I try to make amends. This is one of the steps. This ain't nothing I came up with. Don't get me wrong. And that's another thing. I drove past the place today. A lot of people don't know when I first got out of prison and I wanted to change. I wanted something different. I wanted to do something different. And I was getting out after doing 12 years, 7 months straight. I didn't have no family. I didn't have no place to go. I was getting released from Soledad, and I was paroling from the hole. I was in the hole. Yeah, I didn't even do anything wrong, but I was in the hole for my last 8 months. So I didn't get no preparation, no what they call pre-release for preparing you to get out and dealing with society. I got none of that. I got, released from 23-hour a day lockdown, hour a day on the yard, and every 3 days you get a shower. I got released from that to, okay, don't come back. I'm begging for help. I'm writing places. When I was still in prison, in the hole, I'm writing the places. I'm asking for help. I'm asking administration. I'm asking everybody. And ain't nobody got nothing for me. Everybody tell them, oh, see me when you get out. Come through when you get out. Oh, we need this, we need that, or some other excuse or some other reason why they didn't have nothing for me. I got out. I don't give a damn. You drop me off butt naked. I'm going to make it happen. I don't give a damn. I'm tired of living up in this box. I'm tired of having people running up behind me trying to stab me in the back of the neck. I'm tired of having to fight all the time. I'm tired of people messing with me. I'm tired of having cops telling me when to get up, when to go take a shower, when to go eat, when to go to, you know what I'm saying? I'm tired of this. So if you want something different, you got to do something different. Ain't nobody doing that shit for you. You got to do that shit for your damn self. And that's, you know what I'm saying? That's the only thing, that's the only way I know. Because I got out, I got into the drug program because I needed a place to stay. And that was my real reason. I didn't have no other place to stay. And they was only going to charge me, you know what I'm saying, I think it was like 400 and something a month. And I'm, you know what I'm saying, just sharing. I just got a bed, a wardrobe, and a nightstand. And you know what I'm saying, we have communal, rooms. There's 4 people in a room, and there's 2 bedrooms with 2 guys in each bedroom. You can move into there later on. After you move up, it goes by seniority. So getting the room, I didn't care. I got a bed by the window. I was so happy to have a window. I got a window, no bars, no nothing. I'm on the 2nd floor. Man, I didn't give a damn. But right outside my window is like a main street. This is Stream View, if anybody knows. So now here I am. I just got out of prison after doing 12 years, 7 months straight, and doing my last 8 months in the hole. And now here I am, released, no place to go. Parole told me they didn't have nothing for me. I found this drug program through the yellow pages. And next thing you know, they took me in and told me, yeah, you know what I'm saying, okay, what if we told you to go get your stuff? I'm gonna go get my stuff. So I got my stuff and they moved me in. And my first 3 days I had to stay on the property. I couldn't leave. After that, they got me a job through a temp agency. After 2 days of working for this temp agency for $10 an hour, this is 2006. I was getting $10 an hour, and and the company that I was working for through the temp agency gave me an application after 2 days and said, "You work for us now. Fill this out." And I asked, "How much do I put down for wages?" They asked how much I was making. I told them $10 an hour. They said, "Put down 12. I'm giving you a $2 raise now." So after working 2 days, they gave me a $2 raise and told me, I'm hired on, as part of HP Communications. Man, look, that company saved my life. This is the best company I ever worked for. I ain't never, okay, I had a few different jobs, but they would only last. I'd get a few checks, I'd stack up my money, or, and then next thing you know, I'm back in the streets because this ain't enough and I want more. And I always went after the fast money. The fast money always put me in a cage. Keeping it real. Here I am. I've been out and I've been going to this job. Man, look, this company, I worked for 5 years and then fucked up and went back to prison for 5 years. This company put up my lowrider for 5 years. When I came home, they still had my car and everything in it. That don't happen too often. Ain't a lot of people you can trust with your shit. You come back and, your shit gone, and where he at? Oh, he locked up somewhere, or he, on the run, or, it's all kinds of things. Shit happens, but this is really the shit that happens. So having somebody to have your back and hold your stuff, when I came home, you know, I still had all that, and I was appreciative. The company looked out for me, but that's not it. They were there. Because like I said, I just paroled from the hole. Mentally, I have issues, and I'm working through them. I'm trying. I'm in this program trying to help myself so that I can, build a foundation so that I can build a life on. But I was in that program. I stayed in there. I graduated. I was in that program for a year. I moved out, got my own place, was doing my own thing, was living life. And one thing happens, next thing I end up doing something stupid, now I'm back in the cage. And mentally, it was fucked up because if anybody knows, after being out for 5 years. Oh man, So anyway, I did 5 years and then I got out, and it's like, okay, if you want something different, you got to do something different. Now, I already figured out the job thing. That shit was working. Who we got? Pussy Monster. What's good? Man, living. Life is good, bro. Life is good. It's been it's been busy week. Man, like I say, living, working, trying to chase that bag, man, they ain't giving me nothing. They making it hard on the yard, and I ain't with being broke. So, I gotta chase after it. So, I'll be getting my little, 50 hours in at the plantation. But it takes care of me. It got me living my best life. I ain't, I ain't. This is the best I've ever been doing. I this is the best, no, hands down. But most of that is because I'm not on my own. I used to always want to go fast and get there, and hurry up and go. Now, I learned that if you go with somebody, then you go farther. You go fast by yourself, but when you want to go far, you go with a group. And you know what I'm saying, my family's my group. So, you know what I'm saying, we're going to the moon and back. Ain't no stopping. Yeah, life is good. Hell yeah, gotta work two jobs to get ahead. Man, look, you know what I'm saying? This is this is a hustle. This is a hustle. I'm trying to spread my hustle. You know what I mean? I ain't with being broke. So shit, you know what I mean? I'm right here on YouTube. You know what I'm saying? Don't know how to use a computer. All this shit is all new to me. Your boy, you know what I'm saying, been stuck in a cage. They didn't have computers where I was at. But nah, you know what I'm saying, now you gotta learn this technology. I'm slow, you know what I'm saying, but I'm getting there, little by little. And you know what I mean? It's a process. It's anything you want to do, you gotta work at. So, you know what I mean, I'm putting the work in, bit by bit. I got my little, you know what I'm saying? I got my little shit monetized. You know what I'm saying? I'm making my little videos. It ain't much, but you know what I mean? It was easier when I was out. I had my shoulder repaired. I had my shoulder surgery. I had more time on my hands. I was able to do more videos. Now it's like I don't have that much time. I'm working 50-hour weeks. Damn fool, what's up, man? I see you tapping in, man. Good looking out. Key, good looking out. Shit, I ain't even hollered at the motherfucking the boy. I need to get at Zolo and find out what's up. And you heard from whom? Hey fool, you see you got a pussy monster talking to you. Yeah, so you know what I'm saying, like I was saying, man, you know what I'm saying, it's just been a struggle, because everywhere you go, everything costs an arm and a leg, man. You know what I'm saying? And that and the economy ain't it's not looking, you know what I'm saying, like, you know what I'm saying, it's getting better. Like I say, I'm a conspiracy theorist. The rich are gonna get richer, and you know what I'm saying, something's gonna have to give. I don't know what, but something's gonna have to give. So, you know what I mean, man, nah, but I'm in the process of getting rich. I don't know how and I don't know when, but it's in the process. All I got to do is trust and believe. And if anybody knows, look, a long time ago I ran across this book, The Science of Getting Rich. So, you know what I'm saying, there's a book, it's an old book. It's The Science of Getting Rich. It's basically science. Follow the steps, do everything in the right way. Then, you know what I'm saying, it can't not happen. It's inevitable. Might not be today, might not be tomorrow, but it's going to happen. So there it is there. That's the, you know what I'm saying, for me, that's what works for me. That's what keeps me going. That's what keeps me pushing forward. That's what, you know what I'm saying, I know it's going to get better because I've been on the bottom. I know what it's like down there. I know what it's like in the hole with nobody to talk to, with nobody sending you mail, with, you know what I'm saying, hate mail coming in your vent, you know what I'm saying, with some assholes, some nuts, some psychos, some, you know what I mean, you never know what you're going to deal with. It might be somebody who's supposed to be a friend that's constantly, you know what I'm saying, what I'm saying, dumping poison in your ear. It's how you take it, how you deal with it, and what you do with it. You know, I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna keep pushing forward. I'm back to that little train. I think I can. I think I can. I think I can. And before you know it, thought I could. Thought I could. Thought I could. But yeah, you know what I'm saying. Life keeps. You know what I'm saying. Keeps getting better. Family growing. I'm just. You know what I'm saying. Just kicking back, enjoying life. Grandpappy. You know what I mean. Life is good. So what y'all got up, man? Damn fool, what you got up? I know I can. That's what I'm talking. You been there. Man, you was with me through, you know what I'm saying, when I was on one of the biggest hills. Boy, we was in Corcoran, and Corcoran was ugly back in the 90s. Oh, just got off work. I feel you. I feel you. You know what I mean? Hey, when you coming down this way, let me know, you know what I'm saying? Whenever you head down this way, man, you holler at your partner. I ain't hard to find. Man, motherfuckers sit up, you know what I mean? Chop it up. I need to find me some chess players. What you know about that? You know how to play? You got any game? Hmm. Ha! Got you thinking. Oh, like that. Okay. What? You act like you know how to play, or you just know how to move the pieces. There's a difference between knowing how to play and knowing how to move the pieces. You're him. You're that guy. No, I'm not gonna believe that shit. You can tell anybody what you want to tell them. You know what I'm saying? I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe trick. But nah, you know what I'm saying? Hopefully, you know what I'm saying, you come back soon. I don't know though, you know what I mean? I'm about ready to go. The wife been in my ear, man. I wanna own a piece of the dirt, man. I wanna own a piece of the turf. Anybody know, you know what I'm saying? I want to own a piece of 41st and C Street. 41st and C Street. I grew up on C Street, so I'm from 41st Street. So those two right there is, you know what I mean, if I could get that house right there on top of the hill and I can just look straight down 41, I'll retire and just sit right here. I'm good. Man. Yeah, man, that was the spot, man. You know what I'm saying? Top of the hill, top of the world. But nah, I think that'd be a hell of a cool ass spot, man. If you was to put up some big ass signs like the neon or the billboards or something in the back, because behind those houses is the hill, and it's what, the 94 freeway, and then it's the 805 freeway, and the 15 freeway is right here. So, you know what I'm saying, all that is going on right, you know what I'm saying, right behind that, below that hill. So that'll be a moneymaker right there. You be charging somebody, you know what I'm saying, gonna be paying for to have a name up there or their business or they, you know what I'm saying, they brand, up on the hill. Because I think that'll get a lot of attention. Who we gotta holler at? How we can make it happen? I need to start talking to somebody. Actually, I just want to live in the house, man. Y'all can put the signs up in the back, man. I just want to live in that house right there on 41st C Street. You know what I mean? I need enough room though. I got, you know what I'm saying, I got family, so I need room. Nah, you know what I'm saying? I need room for my car collection. I need room for hopefully, I got a car collection though, but hopefully I'll be able to do something with it. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? That's the thing, man. That's always been a dream to own a piece of the turf, man. I remember in one of the homie songs, Cricket, he was talking about, you know what I'm saying, we out here ready to live and die for the turf. And we don't even own nothing. That's the sad part is because, back in the day, I remember when they was putting in injunctions, talk about, oh, you know what I'm saying, you can't even come over to this area no more. What? How you gonna tell me I can't come over here? This is where I grew up. This is my community, man. But that's the way it was. And if the police see you over here, they locking you up automatic. It's a violation. And that's crazy because that's how they do it. And it's foul, but the system needs to be changed. We need to break the system. We need to do something. I know you remember, fool. Man, look, you know what I'm saying? We did too much time. You know what I'm saying? We did time in Corcoran and in motherfucking in Donovan. That's sad. Yeah, but you know what I'm saying, I was glad, man, I had real homies around me, and I had real homies that was there to lace me up, and I appreciate that shit, you know what I mean? Because, damn fool. I know, you know what I'm saying, you was there, you was one of the motherfuckers when I came out of the level 4 kitchen and came through work change. When you strip out and then you go through the metal detector. Now all the other inmates know when you come out of that door, you ain't got no weapon. So this is a time for them to try and get me. But when I come out, my homeboys is waiting on me, at least two of the homies. You know what I'm saying? At least two every time. And then sometimes it was the whole SDC car just sitting out, you know what I'm saying, waiting for Snowroc to get off work. Man, you know what I'm saying? I appreciate that. That was love, but that let them know, that look, you know what I'm saying, if you come, you better come correct. Because you know what I'm saying, it's going down. Uh yeah, I appreciate you, dog. I appreciate all the homies, you know what I'm saying, because even the homies that just spoke on my name, motherfuckers was like, yeah, man, I was with your homeboy and he was telling me about you. I just met you, you know what I'm saying, but I heard your name from, and you know what I'm saying, I used to have people literally coming up to me just telling me that they know me from their homeboy who was from their neighborhood who was with me somewhere else, and they just wanted to meet me because they've heard so much about me. And I'm like, you know what I'm saying? At first, I'm like, man, what you got? You know what I mean? What you trying to do? You trying to nickel slick me? Or you trying to, what you got going on? So I don't trust when a motherfucker come, you know what I'm saying? Nah. Because that's a game I've always played. When I'm in the pen, and you already know, damn fool, when you talk to the pigs, now them is pigs to us. They don't give a fuck. They don't want, they're not there to help us in no way, shape, or form. But when you talk to the pigs, it's, hey boss, can you, hey boss, can you help me with the, hey boss, can I get some soap? Can I can I do this, or can I use the phone? Can I get a worker shower? Hey boss, it's boss because you want to caress the ego as you're asking for something. But you're only asking for what you got coming. And you shouldn't have to ask for half the time. But that's the way it is. you know. you know, all love all the time. With a wiggle. Man. But yeah, you know what I'm saying? It was good days and it was bad days. It was you know, it wasn't easy. Corcoran, I don't know, I can't say it cuz the worst beating I ever took was in Corcoran. That was bad. Yeah, moving right along, let's skip over that one today. But it was a lot of crazy stuff that went on at Corcoran. I seen somebody shot and then they bled to death right there on the yard. The dude was fighting with another inmate. They were both black. One inmate fell down, the other inmate kicked him, and then the police shot the guy in the leg. The cop hit the guy in his main vein and he bled to death right there on the yard. Corcoran was not nothing to play with. Yeah, the dude bled to death right there on the yard, and it was like the police weren't in a rush to save him or help him or do anything really. The alarm went off. They ran over there. But once the guy had already been shot. What else were they going to do? The fight was over. At least, you know what I'm saying, help the medical staff to get over here or call them or hurry up or something. But it is what it is, and that's the way it was. And I learned, is the police are the ones to worry about. Now I had a lot going on. I had a lot to worry about. Being a white a white boy and a Crip. So I had the whole, you know what I'm saying, the whole white race. I don't know, you know what I'm saying, which one they gonna send, but I don't trust none of them. And I'm not letting you get behind me because every time, you know what I'm saying, I've let them get behind me, they tried to stick something in me, you know. Yeah, that was bad. That was bad. And then, what I'm saying, what was sad was another time on Corcoran, on the yard, there was another situation, and it was a fight, but it wasn't even a fight. It was two people, what I'm saying, one little dude had a small man complex, and he was tripping over the weights. And there was a little dude, he was tripping with the big dude name was Goody. I don't remember where he was from, but Goody was an LA Crip, and Goody was respected. Goody was a G. Goody was a real one. Goody was solid. I had interactions with him a couple times, what I'm saying, and the little dude, what I'm saying, was swinging on Goody, and Goody just kept pushing him. The little dude was the aggressor. Goody was big, but the police in the tower shot and killed Goody. And it was, what I'm saying, it was some issue, what I'm saying, and that's the thing, you can get into it with an officer and you cuss an officer out. But then, what I'm saying, here it is, what I'm saying, for 3-4 weeks later, and now this officer's working in a tower. Something happens, and some little guy is the aggressor, but this guy takes opportunity. Oh yeah, I remember that motherfucker cussed me out last week, a couple weeks ago. Watch this. Pow! And that's really the way it happened. One of the cop that shot Goody was working in my building because he got taken out of the tower for shooting Goody. And he was in my building. And one of Goody's homeboys, the dude was from the same neighborhood as Goody. And the cop was in the tower, in the building. No, he was on the floor. And he told the dude, he was like, what? I'll do you like I did your homeboy. What you gonna do? And I'm like, damn, that's so foul. The man just told you he killed your homeboy. What you gonna do? That's foul. But that's the way it was, In Corcoran, it wasn't a lot of happy fun time. Corcoran was one of the most dangerous places I was at. Corcoran I got the worst beating I ever took in prison, and I spent 20 years in prison, and I've been fighting almost all of those. Being a white Crip, I went from level 1 to level 2 to level 3 to level 4, and then back down to level 3, and then ended up paroling and finally figuring out, okay, I'm saying, I don't want to do this no more. I want to do something different. And now, I'm saying, like living my best life. I'm out. I've been out. I got a job. I got into a drug program. I learned how to become a member of society. I'm still working on it because, I'm saying, there's still parts of me that don't want to be a member of society. I'm not a social person, but, I'm saying, I am a part of my community actively. And, I'm saying, I'm grateful to be here and thankful to be alive. Every morning I wake up because if damn fool, I wasn't supposed to be here. The man upstairs kept me here for a reason. I'm still here. It's been, 50, almost 54 years, and I'm still here. He got a plan. So I'm just going to keep pushing until he shows me what he wants me to do, and ask him to give me the strength to get it done. Because I'm that can't stop, won't stop guy. And life keeps going, and I'm going to keep going with it. Can't stop, won't stop. I'm learning a lot, though. I'm saying? A lot of people don't realize that their diets has a lot to do with their energy, their emotion, their mental capacity, their, you know what I'm saying, what you eat, you are what you eat. Basically, you are what you eat. Ha, Boozy monster. Yeah, you are what you eat. uh nah, but you know what I'm saying, that's the truth. And I'm learning a lot about, about myself and what I'm eating and how it's affecting me, because I stopped eating fast food. I don't go to, you know what I'm saying, I won't, you know what I'm saying, no more burgers. And I used to be a BK Burger King. Oh man, I used to stay at BK Burger King. That was the spot. And not only they had one right in my hood, but that's the thing. I'm scared of all the fast food. That shit is poison. And Chick-fil-A and all that. Man, look at the Chick-fil-A. Look at the ingredients. How come it's 36 ingredients in chicken? What do you need for chicken? Chicken, salt, pepper, flour. What else? Grease. What else do you need? I don't know. But they got a whole bunch of shit, 30 different things, and all of them are things that you can't pronounce. Why are they in there? Oh, because they taste good. Yeah, but they're killing you. I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I want to be help, somebody help. Look what's in there. But don't nobody care. Don't nobody care. I did a video called The Poison in Your Food. They got, you know what I'm saying? They're putting poison in our food. Look, hey, I give it to you, but what you gonna do with it? Ah, what? Man, they always got fast food in the hood. Man, you know what I'm saying? Look, I got a funny story, you know what I'm saying? The homeboy's sister and his mama was in the McDar. And the homeboy's sister tells his mom, look, there go Joey right there stealing a car. And they watched the whole thing. She told me later that her and her mama was watching me the whole time. She told me everything I did, and I didn't believe her until she said, yeah, you did this and you did that, and then you got in the car, and then you went under the thing, and then next thing you know, you was driving out, and then you pulled out into the parking lot, and then you made it right, and then two of your homeboys jumped in the car, and then y'all went down and got on the freeway. And I'm like, damn. Because you don't when you doing dirt, you're not thinking, somebody's watching you. You just trying to make this happen before somebody can see you. And it's crazy when you find out people are just looking at you like, look, that boy's over there stealing a car. But this was back in the day. So this was back in the 80s. This it was crazy, but it was bad because the homeboy told me later on, he was like, man, my mama came home and she said, stay away from that white boy. And we live in the hood. Motherfuckers talking about stay away from that white boy. He bad. Man. But you know what I'm saying? I understand because the same dude, the same homie's mama, she, came out in the street. Now, you know what I'm saying? If anybody knows me, damn fool, you already know I'm the last of the mad drivers, so I'm, driving around the neighborhood like I'm a nut in a stolen car, donuts, hitting corners and doing, burnouts and all kinds of craziness. And the homeboy mama came out in the middle of the street and stopped me and said, look, I don't care about you driving around in these stolen cars, but boy, you going to slow your ass down when you on this street, and that street. And that's that. And I was, I was scared in the motherfucker because this is the homeboy's mama. You know what I mean? I'm just, you know what I mean, I was raised to have respect for your elders. So, you know what I mean, I was just, oh shit. Cause I ain't never seen her, you know what I'm saying, and she used one or two, you know what I'm saying, curse words. Yeah, you know about that poison. You work for the health food. Oh man, that's what's up. Tell a story past about. Oh man, see there you go. You want? It's always a sharing story. That's the fucking jail felony. Okay, I got two good ones. I got two good ones, short ones. Let me see. Let me see. So when I was a kid, I had went and I would sneak doobies off the weed tray from my auntie's house, and I would take them out back on the back porch and smoke the little weed doobies on the back porch. So one time, her man had some lovely. If you don't, you know what lovely is PCP on marijuana. So it's Sherm on weed. So I got some lovely and I didn't know, and I went out on the back porch and smoked it and got stuck. I'm sitting here locked on the rail of the porch on the back porch. And I don't remember none of this until I come down and I'm in the living room and I'm sitting there and I got the board on my lap and my hands are still locked on it. And I'm sitting on the porch and my auntie is cussing out her boyfriend. And you know what I'm saying, you gave my baby that shit, because I'm, you know what I'm saying, I was young. I was real young. I think I was like, 12 or something like that, 11 or 12. And so I'm wet and I'm stuck and I'm coming down and I'm starting to, realize, what's going on. And I look around and Richard, he's getting yelled at about giving me this shit. And then my auntie's like, boy, you okay? And Richard's like, look, he's okay. He's okay. Man, Richard, he's okay. Look, my auntie looks over, boy, you okay? You okay? Who gave you that shit? Richard? He didn't give it to me. I took it off the tray, but I don't want to be in trouble. I'd rather he be in trouble than I be in trouble. I don't even realize I got this board locked in my hands on my lap still. And then I'm looking around and you know what I'm saying, they're yelling and cussing because my auntie's cussing his ass out because, I'm a little kid. So, you should know better. Oh yeah, see that's the thing. I didn't never understood how people could get churned out on the yard. I'm good. You know what I mean? I had cellies who had that shit and did it, and I'm good. I'm not the one. Only other Sherm story I got is a bad one because it was a butt naked incident and white boy Joey. This was back in the day. So I was white boy Joey at the time. This was before Snowroc, came about. So white boy Joey got wet in the motherfucker, fresh out of juvenile camp. And the homie had some fire. So we got wet, and I don't remember what happened. I wake up the next day at home. But now I got a cut on my chin, and I had some dried up blood on me. But I wake up in my bed. Okay, I clean up. It's a little cut. All right, So I ain't tripping, So I wash up, and I go down, walk down the block, and I get a couple blocks down, and some people are out there having this is afternoon, It's not early in the morning. I'm just late getting up. So, it's afternoon. So I'm walking down the block, and some people having a barbecue. So I'm walking by, and the people start pointing and laughing. Fuck these motherfuckers laughing at. You know what I mean? So I just keep on walking. I get to the homeboy house, and the homeboy, I come to the fence, and I open up the door, the fence to come in, and his mama come out cussing me the fuck out. I told you not to bring your ass back over here. And I'm like, damn, what the hell, right? I don't know what the fuck is going on. So I'm like, hold up, because she's talking about calling the police and all this. And I'm like, look, I'll leave. So I'm about to leave, and the homeboy come out, but he lumped the fuck up, swole up. And then he throw my clothes over the fence. And I'm like, what the fuck? I'm like, I recognize these are my clothes. This is the stuff I had on yesterday. You know what I mean? So let me scoop up my shit. So I'm picking up my clothes, you know what I'm saying? Now I'm walking up the street because his mama told me I'm calling the police. And he fucked up. I don't know what the fuck happened. You know what I mean? So I'm walking up the street and the motherfucker, you know what I'm saying? Next thing you know, I'm walking past the barbecue again. People were laughing and pointing, and it's funny. And what the fuck they laughing at? And then I start thinking, I'm like, wait a minute, man. The clothes I got in my arm, the bundle of clothes in my arm, I had this shit on yesterday. But all this shit was down there. I woke up at home. How did I wake up at home and my clothes were down here? Yeah, so those people at the barbecue were pointing and giggling. Oh man, motherfuckers was clowning me for years about that shit. Yeah, J.O. and that damn Sherm. But nah, you know what I'm saying? Back in the day, getting wet was normal. Everybody, I remember one of the homeboys, we was at 41 Park at the tree, and the motherfucker was holding on to the tree with his arms and his legs, screaming, I'm falling off the world, screaming at the top of his lungs. I'm talking about literally, but he had already took off all of his clothes, and now he's hanging from a tree limb by his arms and his legs, butt naked, ass out, literally. And he's hollering, I'm falling off the world. True story. True story. What was sad was, you know what I'm saying, the homies got scared. We was young. We didn't, you know what I'm saying, didn't know what to do. So one of the homies, you know what I'm saying, his cousin went and got his mom. Oh, that was bad. Mom's came with some milk. You know what I mean? She knew what the fuck was going on. So she came up there and, you know what I'm saying, afterwards she told everybody's mama. Everybody got in trouble. It didn't, you know what I'm saying, we didn't even this dumbass. But it's always one. It's always one. You might have been that one. You got to remember, you know what I'm saying? If you don't remember, then you might have been that one. Man. So what's up, people? What y'all got up? It's Friday night, man. I know y'all got something going on. Boozy Monster, what you got going on? Damn fool, what you got going on? Who else up in here? Not saying nothing. Don't be shy. Speak up. Hit that thumbs. Hit that thumb. Yeah, hit the heart. Hey, there you go. Somebody. Thank you. Okay. All right. Appreciate you, people. Appreciate you. Chilling, smoking. Nah, man, you know what I'm saying? I'm good. I'm at home. So, you know what I mean? I feel, hey, thank you. I appreciate it. I see all the love coming up. Thank you. That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Y'all, when y'all see my videos, you know what I'm saying? If you haven't subscribed, please go subscribe. If you know what I'm saying, if you haven't seen none of my other videos, I got a gang of them. Go check them out. I just did one Balboa Park experience, you know what I'm saying? Me and the wifey. I'm gonna do a couple more up there because me and the wife, we go up there walking, you know what I'm saying, getting our little steps in. But I'm gonna get y'all some snow view. So what's up? What we got up for the night? It's Friday night. I know somebody got something, you know what I'm saying, where's cracking at? We at the beach? Where we at? Where we going? Where we going? I know somebody. I'm pulling up. Ain't nobody got nothing? Man. Look, enjoy yourself. Whatever you gotta do, enjoy it. You only get one go around at this big blue ball. So enjoy it. Enjoy your time. Enjoy your family. Enjoy the people you love. Those are the ones that matter. When it come down to it, they the ones going to be there when it's rough, when it's tough. That's what you got. Okay, yeah. Well, you know what I'm saying? Like I say, whenever you come through, you know what I'm saying, hit your boy, holla. I ain't hard to find. Man, you know what I'm saying? Motherfucker out here. Like I say, I'm at work and at home, you know. And that's the thing, I look at it as this is how damn fool how we would program. When you programming, you got a job in prison. You know what I mean? When you go to that job or you do whatever, you know what I'm saying, and then afterwards you get to come out to the yard and get your little exercise or whatever you got going on. You know what I mean? Whatever is gonna make you okay, then that's what you do. So everybody has their own, you know what I'm saying, their own vices, put it like that. But it's up to you to regulate because if you're programming, then you know what I'm saying, you're going to work. You're doing your job. You're doing this so that you don't have the police on your back. You know what I mean? Because I remember, being in education or, I got out of that fast because, I was trying to educate myself. So I got my GED and all that in Corcoran on my own time when I was, I was on I was on what was called LOP. I wasn't programming. So I was a fuck up. I was on LOP, which people that don't know is loss of privileges. So I was on loss of privileges. That means I'm not going to get my quarterly package every 3 months. You're allowed a 30-pound box that your family can send you 30 pounds worth of the listed items. My mom used to send me oatmeal, big container of oatmeal, a bag of rice, bag of pinto beans, uh, and then seasoning packets like the burrito packet, the burrito seasoning, the taco seasoning, or this seasonings, the packets, and put that in there, and then a big thing of Tang and a big thing of Country Time lemonade. That was my thing, man, to mix the Country Time lemonade and the Tang. Ooh, with a white ice tickle from the canteen on canteen day in the jug with water. Oh, it's now you everybody's already thinking, you know what I'm saying? Tang, Country Time lemonade, and an ice tickle with some water. Man, you just had diabetes. Hey, it was so good, especially on a hot day. Some places in prison you don't get ice. So ice is rare. Yeah, I know, you know what I'm saying? That's the thing, you know what I'm saying? Shit. You know what I mean? I wish you would come back. Like I say, I don't have too many people to mess with. I'm at home and at work. I gotta, you know what I'm saying, I go, you know what I'm saying, I show up, you know what I mean, I ain't hard to find. Somebody wanna holler, you know what I'm saying? The homies know I ain't hard to find. Come holler at your boy. Yeah, LOP, you know what I'm saying? That was this was the time the police had got me, you know what I'm saying, and then they had messed up on the paperwork. And so because they took too long with the paperwork, they couldn't give me no extra time. And I knew this because I knew the rule book. I learned, you know what I'm saying, whenever you go to the hole, they don't have to give you nothing else, but they have to give you a rule book. So if you ain't got nothing else to read, that's a good thing to catch up on. And I went to the hole a lot. So I studied that book a lot. And that led me to learn how the system would work and how I could make it work for me because the cops was trying to give me 90 extra days because of some stupid shit that I did. I did a whole bunch of stupid shit. So this was just one of the other stupid things. It's not normal, not unnormal for me. So the cop is telling me that he's going to give me 90 days and this and that. And I'm like, I'm saying, okay. Then but the way I did it kind of pissed him off because I'm like, so don't you guys have to give me a copy of the 115 within a certain amount of time? It was like, what do you mean? I'm like, I'm saying I was given the 115 32 days after I was supposed to get it, and the book says I was supposed to get it within 30 days. The book also says you can't take no time from me. And now he had already told me he was going to take the time and this and that. And so he said, you know what? So he starts looking at the Title 15, the rule book. So now, you know what I'm saying? He asked me to step out of the office and he calls the sergeant in. So now the sergeant comes in there and they're sitting there discussing and they're looking at the book and talking about it. And next thing you know, they call me back in with both of them. And I'm like, okay, I know you can't give me no time. I know what that says. I'm good. So I got this shit-eating grin on my face, like, you know what I'm saying, and the lieutenant was not happy. And he told me, he said, you think you're smart, huh? You think you know the rules, huh? You got me. You're right. I can't give you no time. But that doesn't say anything about administrative discipline. So I will be giving you 90 days LOP, which is 90 days loss of privilege, 3 months. And then I will be giving you 10 days CTQ. What? CTQ is confined to quarters. So 10 days I'm not allowed to leave my cell. They gonna bring me chow. They gonna bring me. Man, it's fucked up. So, he does everything. Then he gives me 40 hours of extra duty. That means I got to work for the pigs doing the shit jobs that no one else wants to do. And I wasn't happy, but it wasn't nothing I could do. I'm not staying 90 more days. So I'll deal with whatever you got. Because when you in a cage, don't none of that shit matter. You're in a cage. That's all that matters. And it doesn't matter whether it's this cage or that cage or another cage. It's all the same cage. I don't have to live in a cage no more. For me, my house, this is my cage. This is where I go. This is my sanctuary. And my wife hates when I call it a cage. But this is my castle. This is my ground. This is my dirt. This is my turf. This is my hood. This is my spot. So, you know what I mean? Don't mess with it. Nah, I'm happy at home. You know what I mean? I'm bullshit free. You know what I mean? I got the best wife. I got the best family. I got the best life. Look, I got a grandbaby in the house. And it's been about an hour since I made her smile. So look, going once. Anybody got anything? Because I'm fixing to go make my grandbaby smile. Y'all got anything? Friday night, going once. Smoking sherm stick. Don't do it. Just say no. Just say, look, go get some lovely. Hey, smoke some sherm stick. I took 4 hard hits and passed it to the next man. Now it seems like I got powers like the X-Man sitting on the curb for 4 fucking hours, dog. Think about the homie in the pen, little boss hog. Damn near dead, ready to head to the tilt. My homegirl woke me up with a carton of milk. I'm glad I didn't get caught slipping while I was tripping with the fools from the other side call themselves tripping. Hey, so that's it. That's all we got for tonight. All right. Hey, every Friday night at 9 p.m., hit your boy up. Enjoy chilling with your fam. My boy pops in at the last minute. Good looking out, homie. I appreciate you. November, my grandson. That's what's up. That's what's up. Peace, man. All right, everybody. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe.